Today we are going to talk about XDC. That will make sure that we are all paying attention because Securitize and BlackRock are working together on its tokenized asset fund on the Ethereum network at this point in time, at least. Securitize is also proud to announce our support for the XDC network. We will also talk about connections into XRP and XLM. And here you have it, folks. XDC and BlackRock with a fund that will be worth 14 billion. XDC will tokenize everything, even data. And we are beginning to see more and more indication of adoption.
Is there anything else, you think there are key factors to unlock in terms of adoption and usage?
Yes, the complexity of a carrier on issuing a bill of lading has been very complicated. Even if you wanted to join the platform, the complexity was very high and required a lot of attention and market education. And just imagine you contact your customers and they never heard of it.
Right.
They don't even know what you want. They don't even know why they need it. It's much more challenging. Digitalization was not enough in the priority of the parties across the chain. And as technology evolves, we reduce the time, what we call it, wave the time to issuance.
Right.
And more APIs are being connected and new innovative technical and legal solutions are leading to a stage that EBLs are becoming more and more accessible. And now we're close to seeing the banks really starting to accept electronic presentations. As you heard last week, maybe about another bank who announced it's going to start accepting EBLs on Wave, Lloyds Bank, which has really forefronted in the world of innovation and looking for new solutions. And if there are EBLs in the market and your customers are using them, then you should look at a way you can accept them. And that's what we're going to see more and more, and that's going to increase it.
Securitize and XDC are partnered. And Securitize is proud to be BlackRock's transfer agent, tokenization platform, and placement of agent of choice in digitizing and expanding access. Here we talk about some of the connections into XLM, which I will come back to, but just keep in mind that Circle announced new smart contract functionality that would allow holders of the BlackRock USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund to transfer their shares to Circle for USDC. There are more than 1,000 chains, and of all of them, XDC is one of the 4 that Securitize wants to work with, despite the fact that XDC was not on a major exchange, which is one of the common complaints about XDC because it is hard to get at this point in time still, which might be by design, which might be on purpose. I have picked up probably about 95% of mine off of Uphold. You realize yet, but XDC has been and will continue to be the dark horse for real-world asset tokenization. And I think that this image here comes out of the Circularity Finance information, where it explains that they are able to pretty much put together an entire platform in under an hour, which we have more of an example of that here. Within the XDC ecosystem, you can build your dApp with elite Web3 solutions. All of your data and Oracle needs can come from plugin. Launch your project DAO on Circularity Finance and create your own microeconomy, token, and services, and then trade that token on a DEX such as Hi-Fi, XSP, or GBEX. And here we are able to tie Circularity Finance into Securitize, into BlackRock, but also into the TFDI, which is heavily involved in XDC, trade tech, and tokenization of trade finance assets. Here is more information from Securitize talking about the partnership with BlackRock, but it calls out involvement with Anchorage Digital Assets, who has heavy ties into XRP, BitGo, who also has heavy ties into XRP, and then Coinbase and Fireblocks, who have a lot of ties into Stellar and IBM Hyperledger. And as we begin to talk more about XRP, it is worth note that XDC and XRP have heavy ties into R3 and its Corda platform. A lot of that information about XRP has come out, and I will be putting content out there that explains all of the connections even more. How is Ripple connected into Securitize? Well, they are an investor into the company itself, who is a digital assets security platform, which a lot of Ripple's investments and acquisitions involve custody. Why is the Morgan Stanley and Ripple investment into Securitize important? Because Morgan Stanley, one of the most important financial consultancies out there, reported that crypto will disrupt the global financial system in 2020. And there are also ties into Flares, which then goes back into Ripple as well in the 2017-2018 timeframe. Securitize wants to use XDC for tokenizing treasuries, which will be worth trillions of dollars. TradeTech and XDC are already working together, which I will explain in a minute. And it goes and highlights the Ripple and Morgan Stanley connection into Securitize. And I have talked about it a couple of times now, but Securitize has partnered with Japan's Decurrent for tokenized deposits. And I have come across new information that explains how deeply connected Ripple is into tokenized deposits and why it is extremely important and extremely valuable, because it could end up as a political workaround to avoid an official EBDC. And here I want to get more into the XDC TF TradeTech connection involving tokenization of real world assets on XDC. And there are two important things here that I want to highlight. One is Yield Tech, because they are concentrating on tokenization of US treasuries, and EURS, because that has heavy ties into Stellar and Ripple as well. Here is a bit more on the EURS connection, which is a stablecoin. And on March 19th of 2024, they put out that they are re-entering the XRPL. Here, it also highlights XDC, which is also calling out the connection to Ethereum that we were talking about in the announcement by BlackRock that involves XDC. And that is because XDC itself has ties into the EVM and ERC20s. Here we are coming back to Yield Tech because it combines the advantages of crypto with the stability and security of US Treasury bonds and the management expertise of BlackRock. The underlying asset is an ETF that seeks to track the investment results of an index composed of US dollar nominated government bonds issued by the US Treasury. And I have talked a lot about the importance of TradeTech in terms of XDC in the past, but TradeTech is concentrating on fractionalization of trade finance assets, which is an industry that is worth anywhere in between 10 and 30 trillion dollars a year. And we talked about the TFDI and how it's important because of its involvement in TradeTech. Here we are connecting it into Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, and Circularity Finance, which is involved with Securitize and are all part of the TDFI. And a bit on trade finance itself. You've got Lloyd's Bank partners with Wave BL, who has partnered with IMDA and launched a network to finance MLETR compliant digital trade, which includes XDC as called out in the Global Trade Review publication. Now we come back and connect USDC and XLM a bit more into BlackRock and the announcement. The fund was seeded with 100 million in USDC. And BlackRock is not the first institution to tie into Stellar and XLM. Franklin Templeton has been doing that for quite a while, and they have just opened a new office in Saudi Arabia, which is important here because it is in one of the hubs of the trade finance industry. And it just comes back time and time again to connect into how Stellar is pretty much paired to act as a unified ledger, with XLM acting as its bridge asset. And the importance of that is talked about in the article here, which is from Swift. So even though we are talking about XDC first and foremost here, it is yet another example that XDC, XRP, and XLM are tied together.